Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Humble Roses podcast. It's your boy Dallas Cash. Welcome to the show. I don't really expect a lot of people to be here, but will if you're watching the show, um, please put the hashtag we want cross, tag cross. He may see it, he may not. I'm not anybody important. I'm just a messenger. Uh my hands are shaking, but I gotta act like you've been there before mentality. So we want to talk about Killer Kross's documentary, which was called My Life After WWE, but basically it was one big work. And I want to highlight some things from that documentary that I think stood out. First of all, I want to send, you know, my ever loving thanks to Killer Kross and Killer Gloss, also known as Scarlet Bordeaux, also to Dutch and Vincent from The Righteous, and Shotzi Blackheart. That's an all-star duo in itself. Now, whether that actually becomes a faction down the line or a group, that remains to be seen, like fossils at a museum. I'm not necessarily a big content creator, and I'm not necessarily a guy that has a massive following. However, I believe in someone who does have a massive following, and I want to be part of spreading the word about him just because of the way that he's treated me, my friends, and a lot of the fans that I've seen him interact with. And that is one Killer Kross or Carrying Cross, whichever you'd like to identify him by. So let's get into the documentary. As the documentary starts, we get into this kind of suspenseful tale that Kross broke down with layers of his journey after his departure from WWE. It wasn't like that he got fired or he got released. We'll get more onto that later. Um, it was just basically like the way things went down with him. And we're here to big shout out to JoJo. Big shout out to JoJo. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Um, I'll put the comments on the chat. I'll put the chat comments up here later once we get the ball rolling. The thing with Cross was, and that I noticed, is that he always pays it forward. So he's a big people person, and he's big on recognition because he wants to be recognized the right way, and he wants to have his story told the right way. Now, I still like when I tried to buy his book, they were sold out. And I was like, crap. So I want to get his book again just because I want to meet him. I want to buy his book for the first time so I can meet him and have him autograph it whenever I'm able to, figure things out. I was supposed to be at the Detroit event, couldn't make it. My cameraman was out of town, and that was a last minute thing. And I didn't really expect Cross to, but I tried to make it happen and I unfortunately couldn't. So, Cross, if you're watching this or if you hear this, I owe you an apology. I'm really sorry that I couldn't be there because you were in the Midwest and you were only 3 hours away, and I really wanted to get to you really bad. But here's the thing, he's going to be at other shows and eventually he'll be in Ohio. And if anytime at any place in Ohio that he's there, I'll be there. So we're opening up with him basically setting the stage for how things were going when he showed up in GCW uh, against surprising Matt Cardona. There were a lot of people who just thought that this was a work, which basically he implied that, hey, you think this is one big work, but it's not. He was the one that got worked. Well, why was he the one that got worked? Well, potentially because of all the crap that he had to deal with once he became enamored with the whole process of getting that contract that he rightfully deserved. More on that later. When his departure, when Cross and Scarlett walked away from WWE, they bet on themselves. And since then, it, he's always creating a viral moment every single time that he's at an indie show. And I think that's a big standout because with Cross, there were so many different layers to his character that I initially, as a fan, finally got into Cross at a later time because they didn't give him time to show what he could really do. So I remember him from his time in TNA, and I'm like, oh, cool. We'll get to see a little bit of NXT. NXT, I was feeling it a little bit, but then I was like, yo, like, what is Vince got him doing? Like you got this guy doing some stuff he ain't supposed to be doing. You had him looking foolish out there. And like a good soldier, in quotation marks, he went out there and did it. And then he was gone and then came back. And then when he came back and had that, I want to say, moment with Roman, there was a point where it was like, oh, let me turn the camera this way. Hey, camera, this way. Follow me this way. Okay. Follow me this way. Okay. There was a point where when he interacted with Roman, oh my goodness. I apologize for this. My daughter's calling. My daughter was calling me. Give I ladies and gentlemen, I really apologize. Um my daughter's calling me and I think this might be something very important. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna call her. Give me 1 second. I Hey, you did you call me?
I didn't mean to call you.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Fatherhood. So having said that, the way that I looked at this going forward was Cross came out of WWE to bet on himself. And the first thing that everybody thought was, hey, he's going to AEW because that's the first thing everybody says when someone from WWE leaves the company. Oh, he's going to AEW, TNA, New Japan, he's going to Indies. The fact of the matter is that he took a big pay cut. And I can't imagine what that pay cut looks like when you're so used to getting paid something else. More on that. We talked about initially like being a good soldier, and the principle of following that was Cross betting on himself, but at the same time following the guidelines of the company protocol. And in the documentary, what you start to see is as he's interacting with the fans, you start to get a little bit backstory of his journey into the indies from WWE. However, there is so much to unpack here because you got to wonder, yo, shout out to Real Jack Silverman. Yo, we met in the documentary group chat or the live chat. Big shout out. He followed me based on that. I wasn't trying to sway any of the followers. Thank you for joining. You were Jack, you are welcome to add to the discussion at any time. Unlike a lot of podcasts, we interact with the fans or interact with the chat. Thank you for stopping by. You don't have to stay here the entire time, but if there's anything that you want to add while I'm talking, I will gladly put it up on the screen and we can talk. So getting back to that, with Cross, I saw a lot of fanfare, a lot of fans that came to see him, and even the lady who drew pictures of him and Scarlett, like someone like that, I wouldn't have known had Cross not introduced us to those people. And I like the fact that he put the fans in the documentary, the fans who came to see him, the fans who believed in him. and it's a diverse crowd. It's diverse. That's what I love about wrestling. Wrestling brings in diverse fans from all walks of life who believe in somebody. And part of believing in that guy is and his siren is with Kross and Gloss. Kross and Scarlett are a package deal. You can't have one without the other. You don't eat cereal without the milk. You don't have a hamburger without condiments and a bun. You don't have a hot dog as just a wiener. Then it's not a hot dog. You got to have the buns. There's no joke in there, no innuendo, so don't take it that way. But you got to have the buns and the condiments and so forth. They are a complete package. They are a meal. And I want to talk a little bit more about Scarlett because Scarlett was left out of what Kross had going on because in 2021, they treated her as cannon fodder, and that's not what she was. She is, if you have a Brock Lesnar, you know Paul Heyman's there. Or if you have Roman Reigns, you know, that's what she is. She completes the deal. She completes the picture. The embodiment of Karrion Kross or Killer Kross is gone through Scarlett. And what Scarlett's job is, she keeps everything together. She keeps Kross together. I'm sure there's a lot of business that she does on the back end that they do together, but she helps keep Kross focused. A Kross without Scarlett is dangerous character wise, but they're just as lethal together as they are separate, but they're even more lethal when they are together. His magnum opus of his ideology in wrestling and his psychology for what he understands the business to be is something that is very, very demure. Hate to use that word, but demure in what he's trying to paint because he believes in art. Kross loves art. One thing about art, it's perceptive. And with art, there is perception. Kross uses stories, meta help you see the world through his eyes, hence the Moby Dick analogy. And how that book was something that he had passed on and not realized that that book helped become the alternative chapter to a story that he did not know was going to be prepared for him. That is who Killer Kross is. He is an artist that has a destructive nature in his core, but his lore is also built off of that same destruction that was used as a kid to get him to where he is now. Now, I didn't read his book, but I'm willing to bet that his life story is in that book. And there's something very dear to him in that book that translates to who he is now in wrestling. Karrion Kross is a very industry based giant, in my opinion. Kross has the tools and the necessities to make things work, and he is adaptable and he can change on a dime, and everything is poetic with what he does. Even the violence, there's a sick, poetic nature to how he operates. With Scarlett, she orchestrates and helps coagulate a lot of those things and the fossils that make up the lore of the Karrion Kross slash Killer Kross character. Scarlett has a lot of lore to her as well. With her background, she's not just Karrion Kross's wife, his manager. She is the backbone. She is the lifeblood. She is the heart and soul of what they stand for. She is the orchestrator. He is the executioner. She gives out, he destroys. She gives, he takes. She composes a lot of what Kross embodies, and her embodiment and her likeness for what she does is in a mind state for this is the kind of woman that I want at my side when it's time to go to war. Let's address something that Jack just said, which is what I wanted to get to next. Mr. Jack Silverman says WWE definitely seems to have given the Cross and Scarlet gimmick to Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, but I'm actually okay with it. Yes, that is absolutely true. Want to give a big shout out to La Madrina, aka the Godmother. The She is. I mean, I don't want to put that in another term, but she is the godmother of the Humble Roses podcast. And she says they tell an amazing story together, and you can tell their real life relationship oozes into their chemistry together on screen. Absolutely. Which is exactly what I'm getting to. Let's get back to what Mr. Silverman had to say. Yes, I believe in all actuality, this is a true statement because we are seeing the ideology of what they stood for. However, I would like to point something out that is very important to note is that we did not see Aleister Black and Zelina Vega like this until Karrion Kross and Scarlett were gone from WWE. They never interacted on screen other than the NXT Championship match between Andrade Cien Almas and Aleister Black, but that was the only time that they ever interacted. Even though they are together, they are married, they never interacted on screen or appeared together as a couple. What I think WWE did is this was WWE's way of saying to Killer Kross and Scarlett, you guys are replaceable. Not only are you replaceable, your story and your gimmick is replaceable because we can take someone who does what you do better, and we will take someone who does what your wife does better, and we'll put them together on screen. But at the same time, that's just not true. While Aleister Black is a resounding talent, and while Zelina Vega is absolutely magnificent at what she portrays, the way Cross and Scarlett do things, it's just an unprecedented amount of pressure that they put on the rest of the main roster because Cross and Scarlett are detailed in everything they do down to the last speck of, I hate to even repeat the word detail, but everything that they do is detailed. Let's get back into it. So when we talked about the documentary, we saw a lot of wrestlers who spoke out about what Cross has done for them, and that's been part of. Let me address. I've always been an Aleister Black fan, by the way. Oh, let's put the chat on screen. Let's put the chat on screen. Pop in and say, hey, Maddie, good to see you. I love you so much. Kev, good to see you. Also, another co-host of the show. Rikarsha, hey, my favorite girl from Alabama. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. All right, the chat is here, so I don't need to do this anymore. I'm actually going to send this out real quick. I don't know. Let me see. I'll reach out to him. If you feel like joining, you don't have to. But here's the link. I'll throw it out there. Don't mean to be a bother. Oh, crap. Yeah. It's interesting because we're at this point where now we have to ask Cross what more can we do as fans to support you, because we don't feel like we've done everything. that just we don't. We show up to the shows, I we donate. What more can we do to help you? What more can we do to make you feel like you? Um and that's the most important part, is that I hold on, let me reach out. All right, I'll leave Cross alone. Um, we do want Cross. Well, we want him on the show. We want to ask his story. It's in the book, but we all have to buy his book. I need to as well. I'd like to. As soon as I get paid, I am buying that book. Um, he did a lot of great things. He did a lot of great things in his time in WWE, but the funny thing is that he never got a title, and he didn't need it. He was like the modern day Jake Roberts, because Jake Roberts didn't need a championship belt to be over. Cross just got over organically because people finally started to see what was really going on. Um, oh my gosh. Talova is the repositioned brain. So I'm not what you saw in the big company, everything else to give some more leverage. Yes, yes, Wrestle Faith. Thank you so much for saying that. Somebody about to catch a final prayer. Yeah, they are. They definitely are. OTC, good to see you. Leanna, good to see you as well. I saw you. Cross and Scarlet can cause so much destruction and still be loved. Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing, is that they can really be, they don't need WWE. WWE needs them. They can go to AEW, they can go to New Japan, they can go wherever. They're going to be followed. And the story on Ahab and Moby Dick, that's what I really wanted to get into. Um with that story, the analogy is so accurate, but I'll add some things to it. Is that, and I want to get into what WWE told Cross right after this. And I apologize if I'm veering off. I'm trying to compose a lot of this because Cross doesn't have a lot of time, and I don't want to waste his time doing, going all over the place. Because I'm pretty sure if he does watch this, I'm sure there's some things that he'd like me to address. With Cross and the Moby Dick comparison and the Ahab comparison, the problem is that Ahab was obsessive with the whale that took his leg. The part about that seems poetic is, I feel like WWE took more than his leg. At one point, they took his soul, they took his heart, and they took away his love. So he had to go sail out and get it back, because in the book of Moby Dick, the whale killed Ahab. And he had to give up the spear. And I believe it was his final words, because he realized that the chase for what you want may kill you. It's going to kill you. But what won't kill you is walking away from that. And even though they took a portion of you, a big portion, you still have a lot left. And I say that to say that WWE was very greedy in how they disrespected and how they handled Cross and Scarlett. If Becky Lynch, Mick Foley, The Rock, stop me if I'm getting somewhere, if they would have had to deal with what Cross and Scar, they would have never had to deal with that. because they all got over organically. And when they got over organically, they were rewarded with the reigns. Kross got over organically and he was punished. Kross got over organically and he was told, yeah, we're going to take a cut of the money you make off of your book. We'll take a big cut of the money you make us from your shirt and your merchandise. But that's completely irrelevant for the what we feel you're worth. Let me ask a question. Since when do we not look at the numbers for what he has done? Wasn't he like a top 3, top 2 merch seller at one point? Stop me if I'm lying. Tell me when I'm telling lies, not to quote CM Punk. But he was a top merch seller. Top merch seller. Over organically. Good soldier. You know who else got over like that? Jey Uso. You know who else got over like that? LA Knight. You know who else got over like The Rock, Stone Cold? Everybody. Everybody. So when you're so let me get this straight. If you're selling merch, right? And you're outselling some of the top people on the if you are selling merch and you are outselling some of the top people on the roster, including the faces of the company, if you have fans chanting for you, if you have the biggest draw in the company coming back with controversy, you mean to tell me that when they are chanting for that person that did all of that, doesn't have a title, had to fight his way to be on a PLE, had to miss a funeral to be on a PLE, you can't reward that person the way you rewarded everybody else? What was it about Killer Kross that you guys did not get? You told him that his life story in his book was irrelevant to the deal that you were trying to offer him, and that basically you had 24 hours to sign this red flagged deal because Kross said, and even Scarlett said, there were red flags. You did not want to include her again. I don't get it. I don't get it. What the fuck are we talking about? This is a greedy ass company that, and I personally don't give a shit if they don't rock with me for saying this, because it's not like they know who I am. It's a I call it how I see it. You fucked over Karrion Kross. You shit on him for being a good soldier and doing everything that he was told to do. And he did it to appease not only the fans, but the people higher up. And then his reward, you didn't give him a boat. You didn't give him a ship back, his ship back that he actually went out and caught the whale and brought it back to you. Like, let's make another analogy. Karrion Kross went out there and got the fucking whale. Let's say the whale is to get over, right? Let's say, yo, you got this spear and you are holding this spear, and this is your opportunity to get over. And the whale is your opportunity to get over. Kross went out there and brought back like 3 fucking whales. 3. He did it. They were I'm actually like, I don't think that I could actually be his angry translator. But you were in his hometown. His hometown. And he can't get a fucking he got an appearance in AJ and Logan Paul's match, which the crowd popped for him. And then he had the most viral moment of the weekend. You know, it's amazing how this guy finds a way to make shit work when you fuck him over. How is that possible? And and here's the funny thing. When he was cutting that promo talking about being a good soldier, my ass, my ass. You could see that was supposed to be his Austin 316 promo, his pipe bomb, whatever you want to call it. And Scarlett is trying to stop him from saying something that's going to get. He didn't give a shit at that point, and he doesn't now. Ladies and gentlemen, Kurt. By the way, yo, Kurt. Let's talk about what Kurt just said. Um, I hope they realize what they are missing out on. No, they don't, because they're trying to replace him with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, and this is no disrespect to them, because I love Aleister and Zelina Vega. What I don't love is when you're trying to tell Kross and Scarlett that they are replaceable when they are not. You can't replace that. That's art. Art imitates life, and life is fighting. And you can't imitate the guy who has practiced and mastered the art of fighting. So you mean to tell me a guy who with a jiu-jitsu background, a guy who literally can choke out anybody on the roster, can't be featured in anything that makes him look? Why did he lose to Sami Zayn at SummerSlam? He can beat him on a Monday Night Raw. But God forbid it's on a PLE. Sami Zayn just lost to Ilya Dragunov. You mean to tell me that a program between Ilya and Kross wouldn't have put asses in seats if you'd have let him off? You mean to tell me that a program between Aleister Black and Zelina Vega and Karrion Kross and Scarlett wouldn't have worked? What are we doing here? I even said if they were to put Aleister and Zelina together, they should go against Kross and Scarlett, or they should either be a faction. That would work. Or a tag team. Because they complement each other. You got a guy with a kickboxing background and a jiu-jitsu background. That's just what more could you want? What more could you want? Kross has an MMA background. Aleister, kickboxing, Dutch Destroyer. What are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing? And the problem with that is that having him part of this is the big issue. Is you're having Aleister go out there and attempt to do the Karrion Kross style. You can't do that because that's not who Aleister really is. But what he is somebody who has a darker side, and Kross could help bring that out of him. Kross, everything Kross was involved in died. Everything, because Scarlett said, everything that Kross touches dies. If you think about it, let's revisit it. Karrion Kross has been part of some of the biggest storyline changes. The bloodline. The hourglass that Karrion Kross pulled out signaled that the time for the bloodline was coming to the end. What happened? Bloodline is in shambles. They're still trying to figure it out, but they're not the same. The New Day, they turned on Big E because of Kross. You know, Kross influenced a lot of things. Kross broke up um Bray and Dom. Dominic Mysterio is a direct result of Karrion Kross getting in his head and his dad's head. Judgment Day had a lot to do with that too, but Kross was really nailing that home. Everything Kross touches, anytime Kross interacted with somebody, they did not come out the same. Let's get back to it. So, with that analogy, right, that Kross dropped, there was, yeah, and you're right, Kurt. It really didn't feel right. Definitely didn't feel right. And Scarlett can really wrestle. That's the problem. They didn't let her ball. Well, it was like it took like what 7 years before we knew 6 years before we knew Lana could wrestle a little bit when she was with Rusev. They just threw her out there in 2016 WrestleMania 32. They threw her out there. I was like, all right, let's see what you can do. They gave her something to work with. And then it became a thing to bully Lana. Like it was like, okay. Like this could get some juice. With Scarlett, she did wrestle a few times in WWE. We never really saw what she could really do. So you shackled her, and then you handcuffed her husband, and then shackled him for with what limited he had to work with, and he still made it work throughout all of that. Let's talk about a little bit on the relationship that Kross had with Darby Allin. Has with Darby Allin. Apologize. With Darby Allin. Shout out to Darby Allin, a true friend. Like he really sees the value. But that tells me that if at any point Kross, that just lets me know that when the time is right, Kross can go to AEW at any moment because he has Darby. That's one hell of a friend to have because Darby really believes in a lot of things and he is the heart and soul of AEW. And Darby is a good friend. Even when the fiasco was going on with CM Punk and the Young Bucks, Darby stuck by his friend. He didn't put Punk down. That was his friend. I'm glad that Kross has someone like Darby because at least I know it when the chips are down and if Kross like absolutely needs it, he can go to AEW and he'll be taken care of. That at least lets me know. And it feels weird because I feel like someone said this. I feel like I've known Kross personally, but not really. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I've known him because I've watched him grow. You could say that with any wrestler, but with him, there's a personal aspect to it. And that personal aspect is with him and Scarlett, I watched them grow. And when they got to NXT, I go, okay, let's see. Because I can love you in TNA, but if you go to NXT or WWE and they ruin you, it's like it's not you that I don't like. It's the concept of what they're having you represent. So it wasn't like I personally didn't like Kross. I didn't like the direction they had going for him. Whatever they tried to paint him as, it was only like a bit and piece of what he really wanted to be. And on top of that, with Bruiser Brody, he had mentioned that, there's somebody who understands. Hey, Tanisha from Main Event Mamas. Yo, let me explain something about Tanisha. Tanisha is a beautiful soul inside and out, very loyal, a very good mother, very good girlfriend to her boyfriend. But she's a good woman that I believe is a very supportive and powerful key piece of why the main event mamas are successful. And they have a lot of things in store. So I want to give a big shout out to you, Tanisha. I love you very much. I'm very proud of you. You are a great woman. And uh don't you start. I'm not starting anything. I'm just saying you're a great woman. I appreciate you. I know we don't talk a lot, but you're I don't think your importance in my life, your sister's life, and to the lifeblood of CCN has been recognized. I know this is about Killer Kross, but I'm glad you showed up because a lot of the people that I know that know you know how loyal you are, know how strong-willed you are. I'm glad that I met you and your sister. I wouldn't be where I am right now without your influence. There are times when I wish we could work together more on a lot of things, and you know, I know what you're going through, Tanisha. There's a lot you have. I know how hard you work. I know how bad it gets, and we're all here for you. You're not dealing with nothing traumatic. I can tell. I can feel someone's energy, and if no one ever told you, you're not just good enough. You're great enough. I love you. I'm proud of you. You're always going to be my friend. Proud to call you my friend. Sorry. She deserved that. Sorry. She deserved it. Getting back to that. One to really point out that with Kross, like, let's bring it back a little bit. So the deal that they did, they told him he wasn't worth anything because of the book. Like the book was irrelevant to what they were offering. That was a low ball offer because I'm telling you, whatever he was making, if it would have been LA Knight in that situation, or or Jey Uso, they would have gave him buku money. Whatever it was that was going on. I got you, Tanisha. Everything's gonna be great. You're great. Whatever was going on behind those closed doors, it wasn't like Kross was difficult to work with. That wasn't the case. What it was he knew his value, and he wanted to know why they were not valuing him. Shotzi Blackheart had value. Did they treat her like it? To a degree? To a degree? Could we say that? She was vilified and disrespected in so many ways as she transitioned from NXT to the main roster that it was borderline laughable what they had her doing. You notice that when Shotzi Blackheart goes to GCW, she becomes 50 to 1,000 times better than what we saw. It's because she was being held back. She's being held back. Again. They tried to make her a thing in NXT, but they held her back once she got to the main roster. And then she was blamed for that disastrous match with Ronda Rousey. Shotzi was blamed, not Ronda, even though Shotzi, who had to wrestle Ronda Rousey, who could not wrestle, according to Becky Lynch, and probably any existing human being that was in that company. But guarantee you, Shotzi was blamed. Hey, Mimi, good to see you. Shotzi was blamed for that. You know, they like to dogpile on women who actually want to be part of the company and care about their job. Excuse me for touching the mic. Who actually care about their job, care about the business, and they backlog them and they backdoor them and they basically go back on their word. They had value with Kross and Scarlett and Shotzi. And I want to talk about the righteous, Vincent and Dutch. Vincent and Dutch, a great addition to what Kross stands for. And they could have been a great faction or trio against the Wyatt Six. Big shout out to Kiara of Main Event Mamas. Might have to text Tanisha. I might have made her cry. I wasn't trying to. Just that your sister does not get her proper love. And I wanted to publicly give her that because I love her. Oh, both of you a big hug. Tanisha's probably going to punch me in the gut for making her cry. I know her. I know how she gets down. That New York attitude, don't care. It ain't going nowhere. But thank you for stopping by. Sorry for missing the meeting, but I had to do this. Getting back to what I was saying. So with Kross, there was a linear equation to his madness. And part of that was the righteous being added helps do it. And I got to say this, Dutch has a great mind for the business, and I see him in a producer role years down the line after he retires because he gets it. And as a fan, I would love to hear more of his ideologies to the business and what he could offer because there's that. Dutch is a very oh, you lying, you ain't never met Dr. Kid. JT, stop with the haberdashery. WrestleFace says to release Karrion and Scarlett in their trueness would easily have created a new king and queen in WWE. Scarlett allowed to bring her lucha background and time and impact and all that Karrion is Trump's. Exactly. They have extensive work and extensive background. We want to know their Scarlett and Kross could have been on Stephanie McMahon's podcast. What's your story? They were over. They were supremely over. People were chanting for them sometimes while Sami Zayn was wrestling. The ultimate underdog. That's not a knock to Sami. That's just the way that it is. It's just the way that it is. When Kross got over, we were right there like, hey, this is our guy. We ride with him, right? Let's get back to Dutch. So Dutch, just big guy, really moves elusively, and I really like the way that he portrays himself. Now, Vincent, let me tell you a little bit about Vincent. And this ain't a let me tell you something about Bill Goldberg. You know what I like about Vincent? If you've ever seen the movie The Devil's Rejects, he kind of looks like a cross between Rob Zombie and the character who plays Otis. That's what Vincent looks like. He looks like a wrestle version of that. He's like a Rob Zombie movie come to life. But his presentation and the way that he carries himself, I'm such a big fan of it. And Vincent is a big wild card for that group because he has this innate ability to say more with a look than someone can say in a 10-minute promo. But Kross can do that as well. And that can't be taught. You just either have it or you don't. I certainly wouldn't if I was wrestling. But this is Kross we're talking about. This is Scarlett. Scarlett even has like flashes of that. The way that she portrays this evil scientist demeanor, this Duchess of Destruction. That's what she is. The Duchess of Destruction. Thank you for shouting her out. She is amazing, and I'm so glad you publicly said so. I love Tanisha. Period. I love her. She's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Men used to build houses for their hands for women like Tanisha and Kiara, Main Event Mom, especially WrestleFace, Nessa, all of the CCN ladies. Men sacrifice for women like those. We put a lot of quality women on our roster, and it shows. Dutch and Vincent, the righteous, incredible talents. But I want to wrap up with a couple of things. Number one, Throughout the documentary, all we saw were different fans that were highlighted, Cross explaining what life really is like in his world. And part of that is based on the fact that when you look at Scarlett, when you look at Shotzi, when you look at Vincent and Dutch, even Casey Navarro, like these are all people a part of his tribe that he's bringing along. And even when Cross is trying to do for himself, he still makes time for other people and does for other people. He is the gift that keeps on giving. So why would you not pay that man top dollar? If he has given you every single thing you wanted out of him and then some. On a separate note, Broken Matt Hardy is return. It was good to see him back. JT from Marks with Mike says, this is why the Righteous, Cross, and Scarlett would have been prime TV. How do you capitalize? How do you not capitalize on that opportunity? How do you not? Like what are we doing? People like the guy clearly is box office and he proved that. But you didn't allow him to prove that he was box office. And that's the part that hurts. Because now we got to sit here and watch the product suffer because someone gets over. Because think about the people who in the back who are like, I'm really glad he got over. But then they're looking at it like, well, damn, if I get over like that, is that what they're going to do to me? So you're creating this morale that really ain't there. WWE is known to capitalize on someone's popularity. They capitalize on Logan's popularity, capitalize on LA Knight's popularity to a degree. I show but Stephanie Vakir and Julia to a degree. They didn't, for some reason, they must have wanted him to fizzle out so they could be like, see, this is what happens when you believe in somebody. We told you he wasn't good, and the fans showed it. But that's not what happened. What happened was the fans believed, and they're like, no, 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 no. We don't want that. We don't want you to cheer for him. Cheer for this guy. And they didn't want to. They chose their guy. The fans have a right to voice their opinion on who they want to see, but we have to agree with it as well. That's basically what WWE said. They saw no value in Killer Kross. They saw no value in Scarlett. Hell, they don't even see value in LA Knight right now. They don't see value in people who get themselves over. But they're doing what they're told. And the part of the problem is when they're doing what they're told, why are they being punished for doing what they were told to do? It's not a bash WWE campaign, but when a company operates very sketchy, you have to question the validity of why they're doing these things. Did Cross say something to a top executive that made him mad or a higher up? What don't you like about this guy and his wife? What is the issue? Does he not have some stupid catchphrase that you can't make 10,000 shirts out of? Or is he too realistic in his approach that you don't see all of the facets that help him become the diamond that he is? A diamond has brilliance in it. It literally has brilliance. That's literally how it's measured. Diamonds are measured by brilliance, and all the facets that make up the diamond shape its brilliance, and how it is cut. How it is cut determines the value and the luster of what it's worth. So when you have someone that comes in a two-piece set with two rings, and the diamonds have facets of great light, brilliance, and extreme radiance, that the value is way more than you thought it would be bargained for. How could you look at that and go, nah, I'm a pass? WWE must hate money. Left a lot of fucking money on the table with Cross and Scarlett. Not only that, you lowball them out of their own way of proving to you that they belonged on the roster. They had to carve out their own path with what limited items that you gave them, and they still kicked down the door. And then when they kicked down the door and became top merch sellers, you still punished them, didn't give them a title run. I guess made them feel like they should be thankful for being on a PLE, but you had other people who came in. Like, matter of fact, Ray Phoenix came in 2 weeks later, he's on WrestleMania. What the fuck are we doing here? And that's no disrespect to Ray Phoenix, but he didn't do shit to be on WrestleMania. He did not deserve shit. No, no. You don't just come in and just get to be on WrestleMania because you a flipping luchador. He had to earn that. It had to be his time. And my wife's here. Hey, babe, I love you. Did you figure out dinner yet? Because can we like take some money out and okay, whatever. Um, so you had to think about a couple of things, right? Where is this going to go? And how long is WWE going to play the petty game? Because I'm telling you right now, Cross don't need y'all. He can go to AEW and they'll pay him double what WWE was going to offer him because they see the value. And I'm telling you right now, if you see Cross on AEW, I'll be watching AEW more than I do now. I won't miss a damn show. I won't miss a damn show. I'm at this point. Well, I'm carrying Cross and I have my Scarlet right here. My wife has been in the trenches with me since 2018, since we first met. So Cross, Scarlet, if you do happen to meet me, you have to meet my wife too. I have my own Scarlet Bordeaux, and her name is Christina, or Chrissy as she likes to be called. And we would be pleasured and honored to meet you both. So, Cross, if you do come to Ohio, dinner's on me. Promise you. We will take you out to dinner. Hope you like seafood. Um, Getting back to Cross and Scarlet, they bet on themselves. And now they can go wherever they want because as long as and Cross, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but his filmmaking abilities are incredible. So I want him if like years from now, I better see Hollywood movies directed by Killer Kross. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot believe this is happening. Um, well, give me 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, if we have anything that we can do real quick, I'd like to bring a guest on. Uh as we get things figured out. Um Ladies and gentlemen, give me 1 second. Somebody's here. Uh whoo. Somebody is here. It is my greatest honor to introduce this individual who we were just talking about. I'm not even going to give that big of an introduction. All I'm just going to say is this man right here is the embodiment of violence, the embodiment of everything that life is about. Life is about fighting, but life is also about making your mark. And when you talk about a former NXT champion who basically bestowed that level of violence and destruction and carnage and turned that into a poetic work of art, you get Killer fucking Kross.
This is why you listen to the show. You never know who could show up.
You never know who can show up. How you doing?
Doing very good.
Yo, I want to say thank you for allowing us to be part of your journey. Um, Words cannot describe how honored we are to be in your Hey, Scott. Hey, what's going on? How are you guys doing?
Really good.
Hey, I know it's late, so I won't keep you for too long. I wanted to ask this question. Wow, I did not expect this. I'm not prepared. I wanted to ask this question. Throughout your journey in life, what was the one thing between you and Scarlett that helped keep you guys grounded together?
Growing up without much and working for everything that we had. Uh, we didn't have any sort of Brady Bunch type of life as kids. It wasn't all bad, but it wasn't all great either. And we were just never in a position where we had any sort of luxury, I guess. We just always had to work for everything. And if you remember that and you remember where you come from, that's always been a grounding point. Like her and I growing up never
Broken
had,
families,
yeah,
sure.
broken families.
Foreclosed houses without homes for a bit.
Wow.
I had immigrant parents that came to this country with 60 cents in their pocket.
Yep.
Family members who passed of cancer and all sorts of things.
Yeah, real
My
shit.
condolences.
And her and I worked long hours before wrestling. We worked in very dangerous environments in the nightlife industry. We worked serving people, making sure that they had a good time, and it was hard work. Um, a lot of just the way we lived before we met each other, we had a similar perspective on life. We were never afraid of hard work, and we were never afraid to bet on ourselves. We were never afraid to roll the dice. And when you constantly put yourself in situations and scenarios like that in your life, your mind can see, okay, shit, the water's going to be deep. My feet can't touch the bottom, but I know how to swim. I've done this before, and I can tread water for a long time. And if need be, I will swim to a shore. I maybe can't see it from where I'm at right now. We're in a jam, but I know if I keep swimming in one direction, eventually I'm going to get to shore.
And the only thing that's important is your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, and the people that you love.
Thank you for that. Um, you guys are like one of my favorite couples to watch. And so I'm so sorry for bothering you guys so much. I
We
just
bothered you. Are you kidding?
You know,
We bothered you. We found you.
I sent you the link. I'm like, he's not going to show up. I'm like, he's probably like breaking like 7 bats under his arm or something like that. I'm just like, there's no way. But I wanted to introduce you to all of my friends here on the Humble Roses podcast. We have a lot of people. First off, this is my wife. This is my wife, Christina.
Hi,
If you
Christina.
hey,
if you if you guys ever come out to Ohio for a show, we will personally take you out to eat. Hope you like seafood, and if you don't like seafood, we got a revolving sushi bar. We'll
listen,
take you there.
I got a problem. I will fucking eat everything. So seafood is not a problem. I will inhale the food, never mind chew it. And we're gonna take you out to fucking dinner, motherfucker. Okay, we're gonna take you out. Chances are, Wrestling Revolver will more than likely be the show we'll perform at. More than likely, but there's a lot of great independents and a lot of great shows that come through Ohio. But um, we'll make that happen.
Okay.
Whenever it may happen, we'll make it happen.
And crazy
Um,
thing is, we came across your video. We were just scrolling, looking to see what people were saying about the documentary, and no joke, exactly at 8 o'clock, came across your video on Twitter. Not
Oh,
even kidding you,
wow.
before he even saw the invite.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I've been talking about you guys for hours. I talked about Shotzi, I talked about the Righteous. I talked about a lot of different stuff, the Moby Dick analogy, which I wanted to actually get into because I wanted to ask you, Cross, personally, besides your leg that was taken, did you decide that at that point it was time to take your life back after the contract, or did you decide that before you walked in the room?
For me, if we're talking phantom pain and we're talking Moby Dick and we're talking in those analogies and metaphors, for me, it was a headspace that was taken from me. And then I changed my mindset on that. I said, no, I agreed to give away my headspace and the commitment that was being there. But I did that with the understanding that if you perform and there's data and metrics to track, this is going to be something fairly assessed. And when it wasn't, I said, you know what? I'm taking that headspace back because there's always a trade when you get involved with pro wrestling. You know, everyone you can get hurt in a lot of different ways, and we all accept that when we get into the ring. But it's got to be on terms that you yourself are good with. Like if I were to accept getting into the ring to do a match and I'm doing it exactly how I want, and if I wind up getting hurt, I can live with that and I'll recover from that. But if I'm doing it on terms that I know are unfair to me and I get hurt, I'm not good with that. And it's not fair to your friends or your family. That's not something that anyone should be willing to subject themselves to. The conditions have to be fair. And as I said, not to be redundant, the principles have to be attached. It's not entirely all about money. It's not. The the money is actually attached to the principles. You perform with principles. You're taught principles to pro wrestling when you first start. And if somebody pulls the rug out from underneath you and takes it away from you, you're kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this was not part of the agreement, the commitment, the idea, what we're supposed to be doing here. They're changing up the plays. And now it's on you. If you want to stick around and subject yourself to that, then that's okay if you want to do that. But I don't think that's a good idea. I do not think that's a good idea.
We know too many people in this industry who make a lot of money who are very unhappy. And that
Yeah.
also makes our decisions very easy.
Well, they warn you.
Yeah.
They warn you. They tell you, hey, I did this thinking that it was going to be a good idea. It wasn't necessarily a good idea. You have veterans that warn you. When I first broke in, I had many people that were, not going to name drop, very successful people. It's you have to agree to terms first before you even get to money that makes sense and are fair. Ultimately, that's the number one thing. And it's just a shame because no matter how well you articulate it and no matter how graceful you try to be when you discuss it, people will clip things that you say and they'll take their own context of what you're saying and, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. You can't control that. And you can't really even truly care about that because, like I said in the documentary, that'll drive you crazy. People are terrorized by the ideas of status. I need to say that I'm XYZ superstar, or I work for XYZ company. They're really, really afraid of having to meet somebody one day and they say, uh,
I'm just an independent wrestler.
they
And
don't
like,
know,
they're like, what is that?
what is that?
We've been there.
Yes. And we've never been bothered by that because we've been able to take people who are not fans and show them stuff of our independent work and they go, wow, this is wild. And, we've just never been afraid of that. But we don't fault or blame anybody. Everybody's got to make the decisions and they got to do what they got to do.
Thank you so much. Hold on, I got to get all these out. This is my best friend, Kev. He's also on the show. Um, our godmother, La Madrina. Angel is not here, but she usually is. We want to bring you guys back one day if you ever want, because we really want to sit down and talk to you guys. So if it's okay with you, and I'd like to have you and Scarlett, because some of the ladies have questions for Scarlett, and I don't want to leave them out. And I also want to point this out. I'm also on this show too with my boy JT and Cheech, Marks with Mics.
Yep. I saw the comment last night in the chat.
Yeah, if we could have you guys on that show too, that would be great. Don't know how much time you got, but I wanted to really thank you for coming by. Um, I can't. I did like literally my heart is pumping out of my chest. um, Thank you for allowing me to be part of your story, and thank you for allowing me to be part of the journey with your wife, because I've spent a lot of time researching everything about you two, and I am proud to call myself a fan, and I'm proud to call myself a believer in the movement that you guys stand for, because it's a package deal and both of you are worth millions of dollars. Your value is through the roof. You two are absolutely incredible, and pro wrestling is a better place because both of you are in it. If
Thank
you
you.
never realized that, Cross, no BS. I got a pair of kickboxing gloves back here. I went and bought them after I saw your jujitsu video because I was like, man, I really should get back into fighting. You've been a great inspiration for me, and I hope we can have you guys back so we can really get into it. Um, but I want to thank you for coming by. You didn't have to do this. We really aren't worth your time, but
We don't
thank
see
you.
it that way, bro. Everybody's if we have time, we give it away. I think that's our ultimate fault. We don't sleep enough. But no, honestly, we're honored and we're flattered that people even give a shit about our lives and what we're doing.
There was one thing we caught on your stream earlier, and you said we're wondering if there's anything more we can do. What you guys have done, everything we are so grateful for. It's more than enough. We are just so grateful you guys keep showing up. There's nothing more you can do. We are just so grateful for everything you guys have given us.
Yeah, sincerely, and like honestly, you've been thanking us. Thank you for being a real one.
Thank you.
It's like we never got into wrestling to try to prove anything, and like if you perform and proceed with love and respect for the business, then proving things to people, that takes care of itself. If you go crazy and you start thinking like I got to do this shit to prove, we'll all freak out. Like that's anybody, right? Like that's a trap. So like we just want to make sure you guys enjoy the show. That's where we come from with everything. And like people like you out there talking about the situation like this, like you have no idea how much it means to us. Like we're strangers, we've never met in person. I wanted to get on here and just tell you, like, man, we see everybody. We see you out there and we
We read
really
the
appreciate
comments.
it. We really, really do. And like we came up, like I said, from very humble beginnings. We don't talk about it because I don't know, that's a whole other
Yeah.
fucking
We
thing
don't
to
we
talk
don't
about.
live in that place.
Yeah, we don't.
You know, it's one of those dark times that made you stronger. So if we don't feel the need to talk about it
Yeah,
too often.
but like, believe me, this is all very special to us. We'll never forget this period of our lives, and we appreciate you, caring and being a part of it.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I got a little emotional because I usually like to give the roses, but I'm really tough on receiving them back.
Me too.
Um, it's hard, and I'm not trying to make you cry because I'm just a small content creator, but this made my year. Um, Jesus, ladies and gentlemen, we have the wonderful, the powerful, and the charismatic Killer fucking Kross and Scarlet fucking Bordeaux on the Humble Roses podcast. You might see them again
You
on
will.
Culture.
You will.
We'll
on,
make it happen.
on Culture Clash Network. Scarlet, I got a few ladies on our network because we have like 10 podcasts, and this is one of them. I got a few ladies called the Main Event Mamas and Mimi. They would love to talk to you, and ATD Acknowledge the Dynasty. So they've really been trying to get into getting your story out there. So I'll introduce you to them as we go along. But let this be the start of a wonderful, wonderful friendship. You guys are part of the Rose Gang now, so you can't get rid of us. You can't get rid of us. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys. I am going to end the stream, and I do not know what is about to happen. I got to get it together. I will see you guys next time. And make sure anytime they are at a show, support, buy their merch. And again, most importantly, love. Love has no culture. Love has nothing in it but the wonderful people. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel.